Everybody, this is Craig Tanner for The Mindful Eye and the Daily Critique. Programming note about the Daily Critique. A few months ago I talked about wanting to push towards a week of daily critiques where there's one longer critique and then shorter critiques. I'm determined to push towards that for all kinds of reasons, and I'm going to ask you for your help in pushing in that direction. A long time ago, about 6 years ago, when I started the Daily Critique, I put out a call to past workshop participants, told them I was starting this new thing online, basically said first 50 people that submitted an image for critique would get a free critique online, and I just went right down the line, first come first serve. I critiqued the first 50 images. There wasn't really any selection process. Daily Critique has become really involved in a lot of ways, and on shorter critiques that I'd like to do in the middle of the week, I really want to go back to this idea of just choosing images as they come in. For that to work, I'm going to need you to do me a big favor. One, submit an image, and two, I'm going to need you to ask a question in the question and comments section about your image. If you don't have a question about the image as it relates to design, then I won't be able to use it. Really want to encourage you to fill out the whole submission form. I'd like backstory information. I want to know what the main subject of the picture is. What was your idea, the metadata, and then do you have a question? If you don't have a question, I can't use it for this type of critique, because essentially what I'm going to do is get straight to your question, help keep the video shorter, and say here's the main subject, here's the question, and then go from there. To give you an idea of what that looks like, I'm going to do one of those critiques today, so you can decide whether you want to play along starting this Friday. So 12:01 a.m., very early morning Friday, for the first 30 submissions that I get that follow along with this idea of filling out the whole submission form, and there are questions or a question that I'm just going to go right down the line in order. It's a good chance to get your image critiqued. If in the past you made a submission and you didn't get your image critiqued, then you could resubmit. Here's what it looks like. We're going to try this format on Victor's image today. Victor's an intermediate photographer from India. He used a compact Olympus camera with the built-in zoom, and in his backstory he says that the main subject of this image is color. This is his friend who's going to a festival of color, and he's painted himself real bright colors. Victor says he zoomed to the long end of the zoom on his Olympus compact camera to isolate his friend. He cropped in even more. He also used selective focus, nice job of that, to blur out the background. He's really trying to draw attention to all this color. And I'm paraphrasing Victor's questions here. He says he would like to get my views on having this much color in the frame, and how could he make his main subject even more prominent. And essentially my answer really is sort of the same for both questions, because when it comes to this image right now, there's a lot of color. I like that. I'm motivated by color. This would really get my attention. Shooting the head overall in this way, where the face is sort of obscured, creates a bit of a mystery, and it's not traditional. That could be exciting. But how I feel about all of this color, how I feel about the idea of maybe making the color more prominent, I would think about the design principles of proportion and the design principle of variation. Here's the way I would think about it. It's a little bit counterintuitive. Sometimes if we want to add more value to something, then we compose it in a way where if it's very high value, like Victor's friend here, painted in these very high value colors, yellow and red, yellow greens, sort of red and yellow are everywhere here, then we could frame this in a way, move him away from all the other color, away from the festival, have a little bit of Victor's friend in a composition that is a lot of achromatic color, a place that doesn't have much color, so that the viewer makes a journey to the color in the context of things that aren't high value color. It's a classic use of the design principle of proportion, where we use a little bit of something that's high value in the context of a lot of other things that are not that high value. This also makes me think about the design principle of variation. If everything in the whole frame is very high value color, then the viewer can look, there's not enough variation, they can just look and say, okay, I get it, it's just a bunch of color, and go away. If I actually want to draw more attention to color as an idea, which is Victor's main subject, then I want to think about variation. I don't just want all the warm colors. I don't want this red-yellow color cast everywhere. There's the potential here for cool colors to come out. You can see here and here and here, and in these areas we could get some blue. If I don't want to talk about reframing, changing the proportion of color, but I just want to work with what I have here, I would look at getting rid of a lot of yellow, red, and trying to get in more color variation. What are cool colors I can bring in? So I could go to color balance, just test my theory here. I feel like there's a big yellow color cast, then let's add blue. And I feel like there's a lot of red, let's add cyan. And boy, as I do that, and particularly if I brighten a little bit, so let's just do that too, because when we get rid of yellow, we lose a lot of value. Yellow is a boundless color idea. It really brightens things up. So let's go to curves, and just in a real basic way, let's just brighten up a little bit here, something like this. Now, what happens in terms of color is the main subject. It's coming forward a lot more because of the concept of variation. The main 2 points that I made today is just considering the design principles of proportion and variation. I want to say a big thank you to Victor for filling out the whole submission form and doing something very, very powerful that I want to encourage you to do if you want to participate in these shorter critiques. I want to know what the main subject of your picture is, something that I believe that you should know anyway, unless you're just working in a very abstract way or an extreme documentary way where your attitude or concept or vision is, I'll let the viewer decide. I want to know what your main subject is, and then you have to have a question about your image for me to create these shorter critiques in the middle of the week. We're going to try this for a while, see how it works. Would love to hear your feedback about this specific critique and the idea in general. Let me know if you have any questions about these submissions. Just go to Contact Us and send an email to General Support, and you'll get an email back if something I said didn't make sense in terms of how to submit for this new shorter daily critique. Thanks again to Victor. Thanks to you for being here. Hope to see you again real soon on The Mindful Eye.